I think it's important that we remind the armed forces that each day a Nigerian is kidnapped, particularly near a military facility. Our people feel discouraged. In Okwela, where we have 2 giant cement factories, 6 civil defense officers were felled by kidnappers. 6 of them in warfare swap because they were protecting the expatriates working in that factory, and they managed to escape with 1 or 2 of those expatriates. But the men in uniform, civil defense, paid with their life, 6 of them. And that is why I have difficulties in no one can downplay that men in uniform and women in uniform are fighting hard to protect us. We just need to urge them to refocus, to re-strategize, and to recognize that if we are making gain in any war part and the criminals are migrating to another part, that is not a total gain.
With my permission, sir, I will briefly go through the urgent need to address insecurity in Kwara South Senatorial District and beyond, and particularly in the federal local government area, call for immediate and comprehensive federal intervention. The Senate notes with grave concern the escalating insecurity in Kwara South Senatorial District, especially in the federal local government area, where bandits attacks, kidnappings, and killing have reached alarming levels in recent weeks, forcing thousands of residents to flee their communities. And I will want the Senate to take note that most of these people who are fleeing, straight away, they are going to Lagos to congest Lagos. And if you are not very careful, this thing will quickly snowball in Lagos State. Further notes that within the last month, no fewer than 12 foreign guards and local vigilante members were killed in an ambush by armed bandits in Okeode, including a traditional ruler, Bale of Ogba Ayo community, and several other traditional and community leaders were among those slain in separate incidents in Babanda, Sagbe, Uruago, Gamu Alieri, in Ifelodun local government, Isin local government, Ekiti local government, and Okeoro local government. Concerned that at least 142 persons have been kidnapped and over 70 killed in the last 12 months across Kwara South, with no fewer than 25 communities deserted due to recurring attacks, leading to severe human displacement and disruption of social and economic life. Farms have been abandoned, roads have become unsafe, local economies are completely paralyzed, and schools have closed, thereby worsening poverty and increasing youth vulnerability to crime. Aware that these attacks are largely perpetrated by foreign armed elements in collaboration with local informants operating from forest adults along Kwara, Kogi State, and Ekiti State boundary axis. While the federal government and security agencies have made some interventions, including sporadic patrols and raids, the responses remain episodic, inadequate, and reactive, leaving vast of ungoverned spaces under the control of the criminal gangs. Disturbed that local security volunteers and vigilantes who serve as first responders in most cases lack adequate equipment, mobility, protection, or insurance, yet continue to sacrifice their lives in defense of their communities. Recognizes that sustaining security in Kwara South, if not urgently addressed, may spread to other parts of North Central State and Southwest political zones, thereby threatening national stability. The Senate therefore resolved to urge the federal government to establish a permanent military base in Kwara South Senatorial District near the forest belt of Ifelu local government as rapid response up, and mandate the Chief of Defense Staff, Inspector General of Police to deploy additional troops and special units to clear the forest and return normalcy in the affected communities. Call on NEMA to immediately provide humanitarian relief to displaced persons in the Ifelu and other affected local government area, and urge the federal government to compensate families of fallen forest guards and vigilantes who died defending their communities. Direct relevant security agencies to identify and prosecute local collaborators aiding bandits' operation in Kwara South and beyond. Mandate the Senate Committee on Defense, Police Affairs, and National Security and Intelligence to undertake on-the-spot assessment of affected areas and report back within 2 weeks. And mandate the Senate to invite the Minister of Defense, Chief of Army Staff, and Inspector General of Police to brief the Senate in plenary on the coordinated federal response to insecurity in Kwara South. Lastly, sir, observe 1 minute of silence in honor of forest guards, vigilantes, traditional leaders, and innocent citizens who lost their life to bandit attacks in Kwara South Senatorial District and Kogi State. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, the leader of the Senate, even though you ambush us, but the matter is urgent. You didn't wait to even get the consent of the Senate, in line with Order 41. But nevertheless, we have moved the motion, so let me get somebody to second the motion. The Senator Karimi had a similar motion, so let him second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. My colleagues, my name is Karimi Sunday Steve. I represent the people of Kogi West. Mr. President, my colleagues, I want to thank the leader, the deputy leader for bringing this motion. The axis bordering Kwara South Senatorial District, Kogi West, and Naija State has become the axis of evil for these criminal elements. Mr. President, in the last 6 months, our people have been under attacks every day. Kidnapping, killing, and looting. In fact, a part of my senatorial district, every part of my senatorial district, all local governments in my senatorial district has been attacked by these people. And they even took over some communities. In fact, one of the commissioners that traveled with my governor to the affected area called me yesterday and said, do you know they have taken over these communities? They did not only take over, our people fled from those communities, and they broke down their homes and took over their homes. That is the situation we find ourselves. Mr. President, one of those guys that was kidnapped and was with the bandit for months, when he was released, he made a statement. It's all over the social media that the leaders, one of the leaders of the bandits said, your senator, Senator Karimi, he built barrack for soldiers to attack us. Yes, I built barracks, which I financed privately. It cost me a lot of money just to ensure security of that environment. They said, go and tell him with his barrack and his soldiers, we are waiting and looking for them. That we have generals in the field here. Mr. President, we've got to do something about it. Yes, the federal government is trying. They are planning to set up the forest guard. It's a noble move. But we need to do something urgently. Some people are benefiting from this criminality. They may also be planning because they know that they are losing the election already. You know, during 2023 election, some people plan and already brought criminal elements to Nigeria in anticipation that they are going to lose election and that Jonathan will not. No, that was 2015. That Jonathan will not, 2019 I mean to say, will not leave government. But we thank God he left voluntarily. That was 2015. Yeah. Those same people, Mr. President, they are aware that Nigerians, they are now realizing that the good work that President Tinubu is doing and that their plan to stop him, they are not going to succeed. I guess they are resorting into violence. They are resorting into causing mayhem. And we got to move fast and stop them because they are definitely going to lose the election and we will not allow them to bring this country down because of their selfish ambition. Our people are suffering and we got to do something promptly. Thank you, sir.
Senator Adams Oshiomhole.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I have a terrible voice today. I'd like to, with your permission, commend the mover of this motion for the facts he has stated with regards to what is happening in Kwara State. Like we said earlier, Mr. President, they say injury to one is injury to all. Anything happening to any part of this country affects the whole. But listening to Senator Karimi, it is true that these violent criminals are advancing towards the south. They're doing a lot of damage, as you rightly said, in Kogi State. But they have crossed Kogi to Edo North. And when the mover of this motion talk about the need to establish a military barrack, I was just going to remind him that in Edo North, in Agenebode, we have a military barrack that has been there for more than 15 years. Well equipped. They even deploy people from that barrack to the northeast. And yet, within that local government, we have experienced series of killings, including targeting students in a minor seminary, many of whom have been kidnapped. They are Catholic priests, as well as some of the students. I think it bears reminding the Chief of Army Staff that he has to refocus and give firm instructions to military units, at least to guarantee their area of operation. But I have difficulties with the last part of my Senator Karime's statement about the political aspect. I think we have to be careful not to politicize what obviously is a criminality across the country. My plea, sir, Mr. President, in line with what we've done before, is to keep on reminding our armed forces that the battle is on and they must be seen to consolidate on the gains that have already been achieved. I am very sympathetic to the fact that many young officers and not so young have been wasted in their quest to defend us. While I acknowledge this laudable effort and the progress that have been made, I think it's important that we remind the armed forces that each day a Nigerian is kidnapped, particularly near a military facility. Our people feel discouraged. In Okwela, where we have 2 giant cement factories, 6 civil defense officers were felled by kidnappers, 6 of them in warfare swap because they were protecting the expatriates working in that factory, and they managed to escape with 1 or 2 of those expatriates. But the men in uniform, civil defense, paid with their life, 6 of them. And that is why I have difficulties in no one can downplay that men in uniform and women in uniform are fighting hard to protect us. We just need to urge them to refocus, to re-strategize, and to recognize that if we are making gain in any one part and the criminals are migrating to another part, that is not a total gain. There has to be a strategy. I am limited by the fact that I can't lay claim to any knowledge of security. If you are pouring water from one side, it will be moving to the other side. So we need to cage them. There has to be a concerted effort to cage from the south, so they don't migrate to the south, as well as keep pushing them from the north so that you cage them at the center and find a ways and means of wasting them. Otherwise, my fear is that each time something happens near an army installation, people say, if this can happen near a military barrack, what about those of us who don't even have military installation? But I want to acknowledge what the armed forces are doing. I want to acknowledge the progress that have been made, but they need to be reminded that they need to work harder. And that is why I was a bit worried last week when a former chief of defense staff published a book called The Stars. I wasn't quite sure what to make out of his interview the following day, when he seeks, in my view, to almost suggest that it's a political something. I think the armed forces have a duty to stick to their mandate, focus on the job at hand, and ensure that they do not allow distractions. I don't think this thing is just political. I think there are people who are determined to make money. They found kidnapping as rewarding. They find, yes, you kidnap somebody, you pay, regardless of what the government might say. Individual family people are unable to resist paying a ransom, and every ransom you pay is an incentive for more people, for the people to go back and kidnap again. But I want to salute the armed forces and urge them through your leadership, sir, that there is still much more to be done. Thank you very much.